honestly, I'll just stick with my Zapper and this P80. Hello everyone, I'm Taylor Bambico. I'm an author of young adult urban fantasy, adult thriller, and erotica, and for today's video I'm going over the Lipsey's exclusive Glock model P80. So over the past few years, quite a few companies have been doing retro lines of firearms. Colt, for instance, was doing the M16A1 and the Car-15. Brownells was also doing that, along with Troy Industries. Springfield Armory was doing a mil-spec Defender 1911, even though it's not a retro per se. It is kind of a nod towards the World War II 1911 pistol. Colt also released the Python, although it's more of a reintroduction instead of a retro. And when I heard that Glock was going to do the same thing, but instead of it just being a Gen 117, they were going to release it as the P80. Now before I go any further, I will clear this firearm. Empty. Let's continue, shall we? So being a fan of retro firearms, when I heard about this one, I couldn't pass it up. I did have a Gen 1 years ago, and I've since parted with it. And since then, I've always been thinking, when am I going to be able to replace it? I've seen probably 5 or 6 first generation Glocks since that. And with the price of the original ones increasing, my interest to reacquire one dwindled quite a bit. So when I heard that Glock and Lipsey's was releasing one, I just said I couldn't pass it up. A few interesting aspects that were included with this firearm were the certificate of authenticity and the original style box that the early Glocks came in. In the video that Lipsey's uploaded, they were talking about these. The original molds by Glock were no longer around, so they had to redo the molds for the frame as well as the molds for the box, which I thought was pretty cool. Another video I saw here on YouTube was someone was comparing a Gen 3 to this P80, and it looks like the slides are the same with the exception of the extractor. Turns out the slide catch is relatively similar, if not identical to the Gen 3. The takedown notches, at least the bevel here, is relatively similar. The magazine catch is identical. They didn't really change that until the Gen 4, of course. That was much larger. The markings are a bit different from the original Gen 1, but honestly, I don't mind that at all. It's just kind of cool to have one that resembles the original pistol. And for anyone who's looking to get one for their collection, I do recommend it. I heard there was going to be about, I think, 10,000 initial run. Then there might be more in the future. I'm just not sure. Overall, it is very close to the original one, and I couldn't be happier with it. I mean, I did have the Gen 1, as I said, but I like this one a lot more. So, of course, this video wouldn't be complete unless we actually went out and shot this firearm. Let's go to the range, shall we? So definitely because of the time we're in, I definitely would not go to the range without filming, just because ammunition, although it's not too difficult to find some, I'm definitely not just going to be putting rounds down range if I'm not filming it. I mean, I don't really have much bad to say about it. It is a Glock, it works just fine. The 17L I have does shoot a little bit better, of course, as a longer barrel. The finger grooves probably do help a bit, even though I don't mind not having them on this. That probably the Gen 1 and 3 are my two favorite variants of the Glock pistol. As I said, I've had the Gen 1, I still have the Gen 3, I don't have a Gen 4, the Gen 5 I have is the 19, I've never had a Gen 2 of any Glock pistol. If I did, I'd probably get the the 17 or the 19. There were a couple times I could have gotten a Gen 2 17 or 19, but I really, as I was holding it, I'm like, I don't know if I really want it. I mean, I like the idea of having it, but I'm not sure if I actually did want it. Honestly, I'll just stick with my Zapper and this P80. So overall, I do like this firearm. If you are into the older style Glock, if you can pick one of these up, I do recommend it. And the great thing about it being a Glock is it'll use any magazine, whether it be from an original Gen 1 or one out of a Gen 5, so long as it's for the Model 17, of course. On the note of the Gen 5, I don't know why on the early ones they included the cutout on that particular model. There was no reason for it. From what I understand, the original Glock 17 up till I think early Gen 3s had the cutout in the front of the frame, and that was to remove a stock magazine, and that wasn't so much an issue on the Gen 3, it was the earlier ones. Well, the early Gen 1s, the magazines were not steel lined, so they would swell when you had them loaded. The original frames, of course, were a little bit thinner. They would flex when you had the magazine loaded. So to take a loaded magazine out, you had to actually pull it out by hand, where this one won't do that, of course, because it is steel lined, so even though it's empty, it would just drop free. So I don't know why they had that particular cutout on the Gen 5. There was no reason for it. I mean, on this one, it makes sense to be in line with the original firearm. So this is definitely a firearm I'm going to be shooting a lot more, along with the CZ75B Retro I have as well. It's one I definitely do enjoy. I'm glad I have it. And unlike with the Desert Eagle, I was unsure on whether or not I would get another one, even though I said I probably would get a Mark 1 because of They Live or a Mark 7 because of Parabellum. This is one I would not think twice about ever getting again. Well, that was my simple and honest review of the Glock P80. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell icon so you're notified when I upload new content. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and have a good day. See ya!